All right, Krystal, what's on your radar?
Well, after all the counting and partial vote releases and manifest errors, it looks just possible that Bernie Sanders may have won Iowa by every metric after all. So, what the heck just happened here? First of all, yesterday it became clear that even the partial results that the Iowa Democratic Party has been torturing us all with are not accurate. Shortly after releasing one of their batches of results from the ether, the Iowa Democratic Party was confronted with multiple documented discrepancy between their quality-controlled results and the reality of what actually happened at caucus sites across Iowa. Some of these errors were found by the activists who'd been in the room, and some were found by basically random people on Twitter who happened to notice problems. Even the New York Times' Nate Cohn tweeted this: "I have some questions about the reliability of these results." He went on to explain that it appeared Sanders' votes in Polk County had been given to Tom Steyer and Deval Patrick. Other people on Twitter pointed out additional errors as well, a mismatch in one county between the results that the precinct had publicly reported and what the official tally said. Just so happened that mistake happened to hurt Sanders as well. Weird. Volunteer was outraged to find that one of the Sanders delegates he had fought so hard for had been given to Elizabeth Warren. Rounding errors were identified that, weirdly, all seemed to overwhelmingly benefit Pete. And the one thing that every one of these errors had in common is they all went against Bernie. After getting called on all of this, the Iowa Democratic Party said there would be, quote, a minor correction to the last batch of results. So to recap here, they put out wrong results, which were only fixed because journalists and random people on Twitter happened to notice they were wrong. Really let that one sink in. Twitter is doing a better and more accurate job of tabulating these results than the Democratic Party. What else might be wrong through incompetence, malice, or a combination of both? God only knows. But as if that's not enough. After Pete claimed a fake victory thanks to the complicity of the Iowa Democratic Party and the media, it turns out that, surprise, surprise, they saved the best precincts for Bernie Sanders to be counted and included last. Because of course they did. I'm sure it was all just a coincidence though, guys. And meanwhile, a new tracking poll shows that Pete's fake win has given him a big boost in New Hampshire, lifting him 9 points in a 3-day tracking poll. What is truly criminal to me, though, is this. The people who gave Bernie Sanders this hard-fought and well-deserved potential win are people like this. These immigrant workers at a pork processing plant who had to fight to be able to even cast their ballots in a caucus that conflicted with their work schedule. They were the very first to vote and among the very last to be counted. So for 4 days, their voice and their vote was completely erased, as were the Latinos who participated in satellite caucuses and went overwhelmingly for Bernie Sanders as well. It is absolutely outrageous. Do you remember the endless 3-year rant at MSNBC over Russiagate and how a foreign power is spending $1 million or $2 million a month on lousy, ungrammatical Facebook ads inside of $1 billion election was the biggest threat to our constitutional republic and material to Hillary's loss in 2016? Let's be completely clear here. The Democratic Party in Iowa has done more to undermine faith in our elections than Russia ever could, period. But don't expect a Democratic House to hold months-long hearings into the Iowa caucus debacle. Don't expect any degree of self-reflection on the party bosses and consultant grifters who deserve to be fired en masse. Instead, the same folks who think they should be able to take the nomination from Bernie with their superdelegates, the same folks who tweak the process as it suits them, the same folks who are now leaking out wrong partial results in a mockery of manipulation masquerading as transparency. These people will continue to run the Democratic Party in Iowa and elsewhere until and unless an anti-establishment candidate like Bernie throws them all out. Now, I don't think anyone at the Democratic Party of Iowa took a big bag of cash from the Pete campaign or the establishment operatives behind Shadow, the aptly named confederacy of dunces who designed the election doomsday app used in Iowa. But they undermined democracy just as much as if they had. Think about this. Single moms arranged babysitters to participate in this caucus. Nurses gave up shifts, lost 12 hours of pay to participate in this caucus. People rolled in with their wheelchairs. They weren't with their kids or doing their college homework or many of the other things that they could have been doing with their time. Volunteers donated hundreds of thousands of hours of time, banging on doors, sending out texts, hosting house parties, managing dog selfie lines. And all for what? So at that time, all that energy can be turned into a giant joke that makes everyone who participated in the process feel like a fool. Democracy requires faith. Faith in institutions, faith in transparency, faith that your vote matters, faith that the referees are going to play by the rules. Young people, non-voters, historically disenfranchised groups, people that we invite into the process are made a sacred promise that this activity is meaningful and necessary. And then to watch such manifest incompetence, cronyism, obfuscation, and selective disclosure in what is supposed to be the most critical election of our lifetime makes a joke out of democracy and spreads cynicism like a coronavirus of the civic soul. This isn't about one campaign. It's about the fact that this whole democracy looks like a Potemkin village farce where the GOP and Democratic insiders seem to almost laugh at the rubes who take this whole thing as serious and sacred. So I have some advice here for Vladimir Putin. You can save your $1.5 million per month in Facebook ads in 2020. You don't need them. The Democratic Party's insiders will destroy faith in democracy for you, and you won't have to spend a penny. And worst case scenario, if somehow the Democrats manage to hold a competent vote and recover from this embarrassing debacle, don't worry, our resident oligarch, Michael Bloomberg, will show that when all else fails, you can simply buy the election. And Sagar, look, put Bernie Sanders, put Iowa, put all of it aside. The long-term, lasting damage that this does to people's faith in the process. Think of all, and you brought this up right away, think of all the young people who use their own money and time to fly in, to kill themselves, to organize, to be part of this process. Next time around, are they going to do that again?
It's not just for Bernie. It's for a lot of different
all of these candidates.
Many people who watched the show told me, they sent me selfies who were from on the ground in Iowa.
Yes.
They took time off their own hard-earned money in order to go to Iowa. They have been totally robbed. And this entire thing, what I love about what you're getting at is it's all about the Sanders and the Trump phenomenon are all about declining faith in our institutions.
Yeah.
And so whenever you have a situation like this, you erode that even more. With the impeachment process, with this, everything is about crumbling anything that we once hold civically sacred. The coronavirus of the civic soul is true, which is that it's a virus spreading throughout. We don't have faith in our democratic institutions. We don't have faith in the financial institutions. We don't have faith in our cultural institutions. We're basically at a point now where, I said this yesterday, everybody, all the working class has left in this country is the vote. They have no economic power. They have no cultural power. All they had left was that vote. And now they're losing faith in that. It's a very, very dangerous thing for democracy. And I don't blame them. I would be furious if this type of thing was happening. And look, you know, everybody should just live on to fight another day.
Yep.
But you can't forget that what they did to you. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, and look, what did they do to the working class specifically here? I mean, Bernie Sanders won, according to exit polls, 43% of people of color in Iowa. Now, Iowa doesn't have a very diverse population, as we've covered, but he actually did the work to go into disenfranchised communities and tell them that this would matter, that it counts, that it's important for them to take time out of a very difficult life to fight to get that satellite caucus so that they can participate in the process, even though they have a brutal work schedule coming up ahead of them that will take them through the night. And after all of that, to have that basically invisibilized and erased, I mean, that is what really, really upsets me here and why I can't let it go and why I think the lasting impact of how this undermines anyone's faith that this is going to be a fair process is so damaging. You can't blame the voters for that. That's the other thing, is it's all like blaming the voters for daring to question the process.
It's never their fault.
It's never their fault. They're never the ones to be questioned. It's our fault for not having faith in the process.
No, you have to. What are you, a conspiracy theorist? It's like, no. I watched you basically flub an election in real time. Like, you're the incompetent moron who deserves to lose your job.
And even your results that you put out were wrong.
Yeah.
So how is any sane person going to have faith in this process?
The whole thing is insane.
Sagar, looking forward to your radar. That is next.